Welcome to the Scariest Things Podcast, your gateway to the trends and tropes of the horror genre. This is episode 83, just in time for holiday horror, because it's Veterans Day, or just past, or close to Thanksgiving.
Yes.
I'm your host, Eric Lee, and joined from New Orleans with
Liz Williams.
And back after a couple of episode absence is
Mike Campbell.
Welcome back, Mike.
Thank you.
We missed you.
Thank you for having me back.
So this is, and I think this is a Mike Campbell favorite request.
I've only been requesting this for 2 years.
And,
Yep.
Solid 2 years.
And I keep on saying,
And
well,
finally,
let's wait till the next big holiday event, and then gets bumped and pushed for whatever
next
reason.
is here.
Yes.
It's here.
So, do you have? How are you guys doing on Thanksgiving planning?
I watched Thanksgiving in preparation for this episode and Thanksgiving. I don't recommend. The only thing I recommend about Thanksgiving is the fact that it's 53 minutes long.
Oh, God, Thanksgiving's a Trauma production, isn't it?
I don't know if it is a Trauma production, but it sure as hell looks like it.
Yeah, it is. It's lowest common denominator horror.
Yes.
If you dig that kind of a thing, Thanksgiving.
Yes, go see Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving is not on my list of holiday horror.
So actually, it was interesting when you go onto Wiki. They actually they break things down to emoji for every genre, and so it was fairly easy for me to. I was trying to sift through and find
that was
things.
very. I saw that. Saw that exact same page, and that was really interesting. Yeah, that sort of like a Christmas tree. There's a pumpkin. There's
Surprisingly, one of the big ones that comes up is April Fool's Day. That one comes up a bunch. There's actually more than a few St. Patrick's Days.
Well,
Does Leprechaun take place on St. Patrick's Day? I've never
Leprechaun
seen any of them.
2
That's
is.
just what sticks out to me.
the leprechaun.
Yeah. Well, and apparently Maniac Cop takes place on St. Patrick's Day also.
Oh, well, that's maybe.
So I mean, part of
That
this
might be by accident.
No, and part of this sift for me was trying to figure out what I'm trying to pick movies that actually have a heavy influence of the holiday stuff. So it's either
but did you follow the rule that I came up with?
no Halloween.
You can't mention the John Carpenter classic.
No.
In the context
I don't have Halloween.
of Halloween horror, because I feel like we've covered that one just a pinch.
Yeah. No, I tried to go. I've extended the range of I'm trying to bring some new stuff to the table, stuff that we haven't talked about.
Me too, and I didn't even go. Nothing could take place on Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even touch Halloween as my heart.
Awesome. Okay, that's good.
Holiday.
So, Eric, why do you think Halloween, or why do you think the holidays are particularly scary? Did any of your research yield some sort of some deep, dark, latent psychological fear of the holidays, or just dealing with relatives in general? Or
I think it's remarkable how many Christmas movies there are.
Right.
But I think that's more of a business thing.
Sure.
I think it's because people have a vacation.
Right.
And that there's counter programming to all the happiness and the lightness of Christmas.
Right.
And some people. Yeah, go ahead, Liz.
Also, for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and this, it's a way to get a big group together. It's either going to be family, where it can be all different kinds of horror, or
and it's
friends
and it's a nice marker that everybody can self-identify with.
Yes.
So everybody knows what Christmas is. Everybody knows what Halloween is.
I do think it's remarkable that there are a few Easter horror movies.
Yeah. There are indeed.
I've got a little bit of Easter represented in my picks.
Oh.
I have one that's sort of a broad spectrum one, which will be very, very interesting. I don't know. I'm curious to see if you guys have heard of it when I bring it up. So
did you pick Did you pick the Easter Bunny film? God, I'm going to totally blank on
Easter
the name.
Day?
Beaster Day.
No,
you did not pick Beaster Day.
I did not. As much as I love a good creature feature, I put it out there that I want to be able to recommend some movies.
The trailer alone for Beaster Day deserves mention.
We have Beaster Day trailer posted on our website. You've got to check it out. It is
we do
some remarkably bad CGI with gigantic Bunnyzilla, right?
The other great one, which we've talked a little bit about, because I talked about it in the plant-based horror, eco horror, was Treevenge, which is definitely
Treevenge is awesome.
Treevenge is Christmas-themed horror where the Christmas trees take revenge on a small Canadian town.
It's so funny. That could also, that is one of the great horror shorts that I've seen recently. So I think, one of the things we've talked about this before is what holidays deserve a horror movie that does not yet have a holiday associated with it. And I'll read off some of the ones according to Wikipedia.
Okay, that don't have it.
Okay, so Labor Day, Arbor Day, we've talked about. Do you know of but specifically where they mention Arbor Day as a thing.
No. Yes. Other than our loving treatment of Arbor Day in the context of horror.
Right, and that's the last time I think we talked about
that might be the only time anyone has ever talked about
Arbor Day horror. Yes, Day of the Triffids. MLK Day.
Ooh, that'd be a tough one.
I think that one's not going to get touched.
And then here's a question like the 4th of July, a.k.a. Independence Day. We've got a science fiction one.
That's true.
Could you imagine the 4th of July put to horror?
Oh, there is actually, and I posted a poster some time ago, and I do not recall the name of the film. I'll get back to you on the name of that film, though.
The Purge, 4th of July.
No, it's not the Purge 4th of July. I posted it, a year plus ago, and I'm thinking.
You get back in. We'll list some of these other ones.
Yes.
Now I did for Memorial Day. I did a dead list of war movies. Oh my God, what is that? Uncle Sam?
Uncle Sam, I Want You Dead from 1996.
Wikipedia, catch up, man.
Yes.
So, Memorial Day and Veterans Day are, if they wanted to, they could make something of that.
Sure.
Johnny Comes Marching Home Again from the grave.
Right.
Columbus/Indigenous Peoples Day, if you're going to be politically correct about it.
That would be good.
I think you could do one which is an indigenous revenge against the,
straight up cannibal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God,
not
to make things. It's like Bone Tomahawk
meets Cannibal
21st
Holocaust.
century, right?
Yeah.
I want to see. My pick is the Lunar New Year. Chinese New Year's deserves some sort of a horror movie with
there has to be
like dragons
Chinese
and ogres
set on the Lunar New Year.
Yep.
So, I'll bet if you poked around and looked for a Chinese, you could probably find a Chinese film that has been done because that actually would be a great idea because then you could follow all the different animal types as horror creatures.
Yeah, like the pig versus rat, or and then culmination with the dragon. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be good.
So I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think MLK Day would be a tough pull.
Yeah.
As if it's not horrifying enough.
Unless you did it sort of like in the same vein as like Bubba Hotep.
Yes.
Right.
Or Inglourious Bastards.
Or Inglourious Bastards, yes. Where it was like, total revisionist history horror.
Right. And where Martin Luther King comes out, or the Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, where MLK comes out with a baseball bat and takes it to the KKK. I would pay money for that, right?
That might be Quentin Tarantino's last film.
Yeah, it's sort of a mix-up of I'm Gonna Get You Sucker and Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer.
And Inglourious Bastards.
Yes. Revisionist history, MLK lives.
And the one he just did is that too, with the Manson murders. That's revisionist history.
Absolutely.
That's true. That's true.
So, Quentin Tarantino, we know you're listening. Get on it. An MLK horror movie.
Here's your chance to prove yourself, to really prove your mettle.
So you've determined what wouldn't work.
Yes. Now we're going to tell you what does work. Yep. Definitively what does work.
All right. So I guess since I sort of prefaced it, I'm going to lead off with something that's a bit of a smorgasbord.
Okay.
And it came out, it's a 2016 anthology movie called, oddly enough, Holidays.
Oh.
Have you heard of this?
I have not.
So this is, I think, produced by Adam Egypt Mortimer.
Oh.
Remember that name?
Yes, we do.
From Daniel Isn't Real.
Uh-huh.
And he teamed up with a number of other young directors and Kevin Smith.
Mm-hmm.
And they each picked a holiday. They were each assigned a holiday, and they had to create a short film around it.
Huh.
And so I'll try and move through these things quickly, but just to give you an idea of what we're up against. So it goes chronologically,
right?
And they open up
throughout the course of the year.
Throughout the course of the year, and what they do is they have this cool reveal where they show you a greeting card for the holiday, and it'll say Valentine's Day was the first one, and this one was written and directed by Kevin Kolsch. And it takes place in a...
Isn't Kevin Kolsch the guy who worked on this year's Pet Sematary? I'm almost positive it is.
I think so, yes.
Yep.
But you can IMDb it.
That's right.
You can do some research while I describe this. So this takes place in a natatorium, a.k.a. a swimming pool, where there's a high school swim team, and there's the awkward loner who gets picked on by her other team members. Her name is Maxine, and they call her Maxi Pad. and she has a crush on the swim coach. But there's some really mean girls on her swim team. They push her off the high board, and so the swim coach dives in to go rescue her, and she's smitten. And this coach needs a heart transplant, Valentine's Day, and he gets sympathetic to Maxine, who's getting picked on because she's just kind of an odd loner type, and so he also is having a falling out with his wife, and so instead of writing a Valentine's card for his wife, he writes it for Maxine. And she
Maxi Pad.
And she gets so enamored with that she goes to extreme and too bold of a response. It's a
Glenn Close response.
Again, these are short films, and so that's probably all as much as I should reveal for it.
All right.
I thought that was a good lead off. That was the Valentine's Day one by Kevin Kolsch. St. Patrick's Day was probably my favorite one of these. This was written and directed by Gary Shore. And there's Elizabeth is a lonely and sweet grade school teacher, and a new little girl has arrived in her class, this little red-headed girl named Grian. She's odd and dour and never smiles, and so she's trying to elicit some happiness out of her. And she's something of a... You learn that she's a leprechaun or a pagan.
Oh, she really is?
She's a leprechaun.
She's a leprechaun.
But she, after several attempts to connect with this little girl, she receives, Elizabeth, the teacher, receives a card with a snake in a grass spiral. And it's like, oh, that's very nice. And later on, but it's like, it was a hex that was put on her. And Elizabeth has been wanting a child. She is again a very sweet and lonely young school teacher who's had problems meeting men and having children. And then she on St. Patrick's Day she drinks too much beer, and then she wakes up in a little green car, and there's a spiral of shopping carts that are around it. It's very strange. And she wakes up, and then she finds out she's pregnant.
But she's a leprechaun.
But she's pregnant with a snake. Oh, and it's like,
wait, the leprechaun impregnated a snake into her, or
well, you have to watch because you'll find out. Again, it's very weird.
I'm just trying to visualize all this.
Yeah, and so Elizabeth she goes into the doctor's clinic, and they said, well, so we wanted to let you know that you're pregnant. And she goes, oh, that's wonderful. And it's like, and we'd like to do some more tests on the baby because we're not sure what it is. And she goes, boy or girl, I don't care. Either way, it's like, it's a snake. And she goes, boy or girl, that's great. And she just blocks out the whole notion of a snake. And then, but it eventually dawns upon her that she's going to birth something like an anaconda. Anyways,
and she doesn't consider alternate options.
No, she wants a baby.
She wants a baby. Snake.
And remember that St. Patrick was the saint who chased the snakes out of Ireland.
That's right.
And that there was they actually talked in this production that the snakes, they really didn't have a snake problem in Ireland. The snakes were a political idea that they're throwing the snakes out and casting out the non-believers, the pagans.
Yes.
So that's where this ties in. It's very well crafted, this one. I thought for a little short story, it told a lot in a very short period.
Now, is this the one that Kevin Kolsch did?
No, this one. Kevin Kolsch did Valentines Day.
Oh, he did the Valentines.
This is St. Patrick's Day by Gary Shore. Easter. There's a little girl on Easter Eve who's put to bed by her mother with promises of Easter eggs and candy in the morning. So this is the Easter connection I was talking about before.
Right.
The girl asks her mother
not
about...
to be confused with Easter Day.
Right. This one's genuinely creepy.
Yeah.
And she asks her mom about the nature of the Easter bunny and Jesus. Right. It's like, and it's like, don't worry, honey. The Easter bunny is just going to provide you sweets. And Jesus was real. And she goes, did he come back from the dead? Yes, he came back from the dead, but that's a good thing. It's like, uh-huh. So you can feel that she's uneasy about the whole notion of somebody coming back from the dead.
So this is Jesus horror.
Yeah, it's Jesus horror.
This might be a first, too.
Right. And actually...
I mean, Christmas is obviously covered, but the resurrection of Christ as a horror film has not been covered, to my knowledge.
And this takes a very strange take on it because, everybody's impression of the Easter bunny is a fluffy, cuddly bunny who hops around. It's like Velveteen Rabbit, that kind of thing, right? And she can't help but she's frightened and she can't fall asleep. And then she gets up for a glass of water in the middle of the night, and there's something hopping around in the backyard, and the door opens up, and it's this bunny thing. It's like a man. It's like there's no fur. There's like these weird ears on this thing that's hopping around out there. And eventually it comes inside, and it's Jesus mutated with a rabbit. It's got
awesome.
It's got holes in its hands, and then was it Longinus or Longinus?
With
the spear. So he's got the big gaping wound in his side, and he goes, "Feel the wound." And it's just it's got a bunny face, and it's just like. And it's got a crown of thorns, and it's really
the Passion of Peter Cottontail.
Yeah. And so and again, so that's the big it's kind of the gotcha moment for the Easter thing, but it's got a very interesting ending. Won't go there.
Okay.
All right.
The Passion of Peter Cottontail.
Yeah, and I know this is gonna kill our 1 hour time limit thing to get through these things.
I know.
It's like Mother's Day.
Rattle off the holiday.
Eric's already 45 minutes in.
Yeah.
We've covered one film.
So Mother's Day deals with fertility and witches. This is written and directed by Sarah Adina Smith. And a woman can't avoid getting pregnant when she has sex. She is an abortion clinic regular because she doesn't want kids, but she still wants to have relations with her fiancé.
She needs to go visit the Irish snake lady.
Well, she has to go out in the woods and visit into the desert to meet with a bunch of hippie.
Like doulas or
yeah, it's kind of the like homeopathic medicine sort of.
Sure.
The doctor said, "Well, I think we're beyond regular medicine here. You need to talk with my sister.
You need a shaman and a doula. You need a doula shaman.
Witches.
You need a witch doula shaman.
So she gets sent to this coven of witches who can't have kids, and they're just like, "You're special," and she goes, "I thought I was here to try and stop this." And it's like, "Nope, you're going to deliver the kid for all of us." And so you're going to deliver the super kid. Really gross. This whole thing was really, and there's this, and I'm sure, it's one of those, if you talk about what scares people, I'm sure there are a number of women who go, this kind of thing, whether I can't have kids or I just keep having unwanted kids.
I don't know, man. The snake baby sounds a lot worse.
Snake baby was pretty gross. Okay, but the ending for this one would match Snake Baby.
Okay,
all right. Father's Day. I'm going to bypass Father's Day a little bit because it's fairly simple.
Now, how long were these shorts that were all bundled together in an anthology?
I think they were about 15 minutes apiece.
Okay,
there are 8 of them, and I think they're
Okay.
So, and they're all, it's compared to, say, like the short films that we see at the festivals, there's definitely more money.
Right. Yep.
And but it feels like you're sitting in a festival shorts program.
Sure.
They're just all thematic.
Yeah.
So Father's Day, a young woman, long lost dad sends her a tape, says, "I'm sorry I left you. I'm not dead. come find me, follow the directions on this tape to find me.
Right.
She calls her mom and goes, Mom, you told me it's like you're supposed to be, he's dead. He's not dead. Or maybe he was and something weird's happened to him because when she goes trying to find him, she ends up in this strange compound where reality kind of twists and shocker.
Okay.
It's not the greatest one of them.
Sure.
The Halloween one was Kevin Smith. There's a big dude who runs a cam girl operation. It's Halloween night and it's slow and the girls want a night off.
The Kevin Smith.
The Kevin Smith.
Okay.
Yeah. And this guy, Ian.
Silent J.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is Silent J.
Yeah. Because he's silent.
Right.
Silent Bob.
Silent Bob.
Oh,
Silent
Jay
Bob.
and Silent Bob. Yeah, I knew there was something.
Jay
Yes.
is the other.
Yes, we were a little off.
This time,
Thank you, Liz.
Liz gets to correct, and I don't get to be the one shamed. So this guy, Ian, is initially shown as a charmer, and he's on the phone trying to recruit new girls. He's like, no, it's nothing like porn. This is something that you would do in front of your webcams and your boyfriend. He's a total asshole. And he goes in and it's Halloween and the girls want a night off and he goes, no, you're going to get back on there and you're going to perform. And of course, filled with a whole bunch of Kevin Smith profanities. Mm-hmm. And he goes, so who's going to service me? Because as your punishment for slacking off, one of you's going to give it up for me. And then they go, no, we're three of us. We're a coven. So more witches. Okay. And they turn the tables on him, and it's awful. it's really, really in the Kevin Smith nasty, dirty world. It's, it's nasty. Okay. Last couple of ones. Christmas is Seth Green is a dad who promised his son he'd get him the newest technology. It's a gadget called U-Vision. It's a VR headset that you can reads your memories, and then you can see your life through someone else's perspective. And but he picked it up because he waited too long. He ends up snagging it from a guy who collapsed having a heart attack, and he stole it from the guy. That guy died, and then he feels guilty about it later. And this headset brings that back and worse. And at first he's giving it to his kid, and his kid goes, "Oh, great!" And he puts it on. It's like, "Look, I'm on Mars. I'm the first man on Mars. This is so fun." And then Seth Green puts it on, and he gets like some sexual fantasy thing, and then all of a sudden gets interrupted with him stealing the thing from the dead guy, and then it gets worse. And he's got a harridan for a wife who's like a bully, and so that was okay. And then the last one, Adam Agent Mortimer, is his New Year's Eve, and it's a who's hunting who kind of thing. Creepy Reggie opens a short piece by murdering his first date encounter and realizes he wants another date for New Year's Eve. He puts up a sensitive dating profile to lure a young woman named Jean, a woman who has also been disappointed by many dates previous, and so they agree to meet for a New Year's first date dinner. Real awkward red flags. This guy's real creepo, and she puts up with it. And then she seems to be so desperate that she invites him to her place, but it doesn't end the way that he was expecting. Ba-dum-bum.
Ba-dum-bum. All right, you covered every single holiday.
Yeah.
There's nothing left. Podcast is over.
Holidays.
You guys don't even we're done. So you covered all of them.
Ta-da!
Every single holiday is covered. No more films for Eric.
So the 1 hour time limit.
Yeah.
Tight. Okay, so I'm gonna from that I recommend it. Some of them are really good. Some of them you can pass over.
Yes.
But it's definitely one for. I mean, it feels like a short film block. A lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I'm super interested. Kevin Kolsch is indeed the director who did Pet Sematary, and he did Starry Eyes, which I think was 2014.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah, Starry Eyes is very, very
I think
good.
there's a lot. I think there's a lot of talent showing up in the director side. Don't recognize many of the actors outside of Seth Green, but
yeah, and Kevin Kolsch now.
Okay,
the hot new thing.
Cool.
Liz, what's your number 3?
I'm going in chronological order, but I'm starting with the holiday that is soon approaching. So until Eli Roth makes his Thanksgiving movie that he made the trailer for that was in the Quentin Tarantino movie.
Grindhouse.
Oh my gosh, I totally just blanked on the name of the movie that was in the trailer of.
Grindhouse.
Grindhouse. What was the Grindhouse one?
Yes.
So Eli Roth made a trailer for a movie called Thanksgiving, which is rumored to one day it will be actually made. But my pick for Thanksgiving is a 2014 movie directed by Oliver Blackburn called Christy. And it is starring Haley Bennett as a student at a university who cannot afford to fly home for the Thanksgiving holiday. Her friend Justine was supposed to stay with her. They were going to be the only girls in the dorm and a guard, a security guard. But Justine, at the last minute, gets a call from her parents to go skiing. She's like super wealthy, so she ditches Christy, but ditches Justine. Sorry, but at least she leaves her a BMW for the weekend, and so she is all alone in this dorm. So how believable is that? Probably not very.
Blackcoat's daughter sounds like.
It totally sounds like Blackcoat's daughter.
It is very similar. So while she's there, you are introduced to a kind of a cyber cult. So it's people who are using the dark web and a chat room to post up snuff films of killing women that they call Christies, which in the Latin means follower of God. So they're trying to find these like wholesome girls and murder them because they think they're following God and they're like a satanic cult.
They're targeting them while they're stuck in the dorm.
Well, they're targeting them all over the globe.
Oh,
this girl is just going to be a target for this group of cyber cult members.
How did she stumble across this stuff? Was it?
Oh, she didn't. This is parallel in the movie. You're learning this, this is this cult going on. So when Justine leaves campus to go get some snacks at the convenience store, she runs into this weird girl whose name is Violet. Who's just really creepy, but kind of like punk rock looking and weird. And so Justine, who's pretty prim and proper, is looking at her kind of weird. And so this is how this group targets this girl and decides she's the Christy that they're going to kill. So they follow her back to the campus. They don't know that she's the only one there alone. Mayhem ensues, running from a cult. You have an entire campus to play out hide and seek with. There is the security guard who's there. He's not going to last. There's a groundskeeper who kind of lives in a little shed building on the side of campus. He hangs in there for a little while, but he's not going to last. So it comes down to the final thing of Justine fighting off these like 4 cult members. I'm not going to spoil it, what happens, but
so they eventually descend on them.
Oh, yeah.
On the camp. Okay. So
they follow her back to the dorm from the convenience store.
So they go from digital to analog.
Was that?
The digital part is that
meaning they go from the cyber world to like actually attack them. Okay. Yes. Digital to analog.
No. Yeah. They're actually killing people. Sorry. So, I'm sorry, I just got thrown off. Sorry. So, Christy fighting these 4 criminals and to fight to the death, but I'm not going to tell you who lives and who dies. It's just an interesting one. It takes place over Thanksgiving break. It has nothing else to do with Thanksgiving. None of mine are really holiday focused, like Eric's choice of holidays. Mine are all just the holiday is a way to set up the scene. So Thanksgiving. Everybody's at other dorms except for poor Justine.
Yeah, but and which is a bit of a interesting that you would call because the whole thing is Christy is Justine is the
cult calls people Christies because they're followers of God. No one's name is Christy.
Right.
Yeah.
They're looking for wholesome targets.
Yeah, wholesome targets. Yep, and Justine is the one that they pick when they see her in her BMW and her polo shirt and she's at a private university, so.
Preppy girls must die.
Christine, 2016.
Christy, yep.
Christy.
2014.
Christine's a
directed
car.
by Oliver Blackburn. Yep, Christine's the car.
Gotcha.
All right, Mike.
All right.
Shake off the rust, Mike. Here we go.
All right. April Fool's Day, 1986. This is a film. The plot follows a group of college students vacationing during April Fool's Day weekend on an island estate, which is infiltrated by an unknown assailant. This movie is awesome. I saw this when it came.
This was also my pick on our speedrun for the favorite, I think it was movie poster, because I'll still remember this movie poster.
The movie poster is
VHS
awesome. It's got a great
video
80s soundtrack. The actors, even though you do not know any of them, Deborah Foreman, Amy Steele, Kent Olant, Deborah Goodrich, Thomas Wilson, Leah Pinsent.
Who doesn't know her?
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
You don't know any of these actors, but it is such a great It is such a great film. It follows a group of college friends: Harvey, Nikki, Rob, Skip, Nan, Chaz, Kit, and Arch, who gather to celebrate spring break. They go onto an island mansion of Skip's cousin, and they quickly start discovering lots and lots of April Fool's type jokes. There's simple gags like whoopee cushions and dribble glasses and exploding cigars, but then there's much more dark and sinister pranks like audio tapes of babies crying and heroin paraphernalia left all over the place.
Ooh,
and
nasty.
And then
I forgot that part.
People start to disappear, and then the remaining group members quickly discover that the phone lines are dead, and there is no way to get off the island until Monday.
So you've got tropes layered on tropes layered on tropes.
Oh my God, are they ever? Apparently, they when they were originally considering the filming location, they originally looked at Martha's Vineyard, and then they were like, "Yeah, Martha's Vineyard, no, that's way too expensive." And then they were like, "Oh, we can shoot it like maybe in the San Juans or like somewhere in the Sound near Seattle." And they were like, "That's even too expensive," which that didn't make sense to me. In the 1980s, Seattle was not all that it is now.
So North Carolina?
No, they actually ended up choosing Vancouver Island. So they were right outside. They were on this huge estate right outside of Victoria, which is a beautiful, beautiful part of the world if you haven't ever been there. So yeah, from a visual standpoint, the film is actually really, really beautiful. And as Liz mentioned, not only is the film beautiful, the poster is beautiful. The acting is actually really solid. And I can't tell you a single one of these actors like what any of them ever went on to do beyond this. But it's a really tight story that has a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful twist at the end. Joe Baltake of the Escondido Times Advocate, which I'm not even sure that's a real paper, he said he panned the film based on its sexual content, comparing it to the Friday the 13th series, adding that none of the mayhem keeps its characters from putting the make on one another or even stopping to have sex. Some of the screams in the night here could imply either brutality or sexuality. April Fool's Day is a film that confuses the two.
This is from The Advocate?
No, this is from the Escondido Times Advocate.
Oh, okay. So I was thinking The Advocate is a fairly prominent gay publication.
Yes. So anyway, Joe Baltake of the Escondido Times Advocate. I'm not sure if that publication still exists anymore, but if it does, you're wrong. It's a fun film, and it's actually a film. April Fool's Day really, really holds up. If you go back and look at it, it's one of those ones that you might have seen the VHS box, you might have seen the movie poster a million times, you might have wondered what it is. I suggest checking it out because it really does hold up in a 2019 context.
Has it been redone?
Yes.
Oh, it has?
I think it did. Yeah.
No.
If you were a slasher movie in the 80s, guaranteed it'll have been redone.
Has it really been remade?
Yeah, they made it in 2008.
Oh my God! Well, that one slipped right past me.
Oh yeah.
Or maybe
it went direct to video when 2008 was direct to video, not just streaming. So
what was it? What was it? Was it called April Fool's Day?
It was indeed.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Oh no, April. What? Oh geez, there was actually. Looks like the. Oh my gosh, there's 4 April Fool's Day movies. There's April Fool's Day.
This one's definitely a remake because according to Wikipedia, this one's definitely the remake.
Right.
There's April Fool's Day 1954. There's April Fool's 2007. There's April Fool's 2015, and there's April Fool's Day 1986. That's the one. Oh my God. And there's an April Fool's Day 2008. There's an April Fool's 1969. There's an April Fool 1964. And there's an April Fool's 2017.
See,
Good Lord.
If there was a true sequel to this, like an honest to goodness one that they're trying to capitalize, you know what the title should be?
What?
Fool me once.
Yes.
Shame on you. Fool me twice. Shame on me.
Yes.
April Fool's Day 2.
April Fool's Day.
Somebody get on that.
April Fool's Day 8.
I love that.
The April Fooling. All right, Eric.
Okay,
Good.
this one will go quicker than my last one, as it could, as it has to be. This is a 2010 film. It's an import from Finland. This is Rare Exports: A Christmas Tale.
Oh, yeah.
This one is great. This is a great film. It's really effective and it's intense, occasionally funny Christmas tale with a decidedly darker take on Santa Claus. And we've seen a rash of these kind of Krampus-y stories that particularly the big Krampus major studio production, which was it was okay.
Yeah.
But this movie felt like diving into the real folkloric and nasty grim fairy tale understanding of St. Nicholas. And with the whole notion of naughty and nice and what happens to you if you're naughty. But it doesn't play it as simply as like, certainly that's what Krampus leans on, right? Naughty kids get punished. This is actually shows that there's an American mining expedition that has been hired by a mysterious benefactor to find something deep in the heart of Korvan Tunturi, which in real life is known to be the home of Joulupuki, also known as a proto Father Christmas. And so that, in fact, if you go out to Finland and it's, close to the North Pole, certainly, it says, it's a secret workshop is there. It's on the border between northern Finland and Russia. So what are these miners actually trying to excavate? They're trying to find the frozen corpse of a mummified Santa. And there's two little boys who snuck in to watch the mining operation happen, and they overhear the discussion of, you're looking for a sacred object, and one little boy, Pietari, believes that they have to be, because of the lore of the mountain, they must be hunting for Santa Claus.
Right.
And his little buddy Juuso is the denier, slightly older buddy, and then they retreat back, sneak through the fence, go back home to their caribou ranching fathers. Because they were naughty and sneaking out, they didn't tell anybody. Oh, they're probably looking for some.
Wait, how were the caribou ranching fathers naughty?
No, the little boys. They had snuck out. They weren't supposed to be there. They went through the fence.
Gotcha. I'm with you.
All right.
Yes.
And we're spying. But all of a sudden, some things start happening that suggest that evil Santa is on the prowl. There's there's footsteps on the roof. All right. Dad, were you on the roof? No. Why would I be on the roof? Okay. And then the mass herd of caribou that feeds and is the town's source of income gets slaughtered. There's like 150 dead caribou, all mangled, and there are foot tracks leading all around it, like bare footprints. It's very strange. And then the townsfolk initially thought wolves, and they thought, no, these are the crazy Americans got drunk or something and killed our reindeer. Let's go get them. And then they go up to the site and they see there's nobody at the site. It's just this gigantic deep pit into the mountain. And then the little boy goes, I think I know what happens. It's like, no, you don't know what's happening. Stay away from this. It's like, it's too dangerous. And then they find in a wolf trap that they set up, the little boy, who's very curious, goes, Daddy, there's something fell into the pit. And Dad goes, stay away, son. And they look in there, and there's a man in the pit who fell into, it's essentially like a punji stick pit, right?
Right.
And it's an old kind of leathery dude with a naked, and he's got a big long white beard, right? All right, they just nailed themselves a Santa, or they killed Santa, or something, and so his father, who is named here, Aimo, Tommy Corpola, said, "Go back into the house, son." And then they drag this body out, and he and his buddies try and figure out what to do with this thing. They're not thinking Santa Claus. They're thinking strange naked man fell into my pit trying to steal caribou meat. But they realize this guy comes back. He has this amazing recovery speed, and he starts biting. He starts fighting and biting. Anyways, they believe that they've got Santa Claus after Pietari, the little boy, comes in and he perks up and he just like drooling, right?
Right.
It's like, oh, he's trying to, the little kid, and it's like, hey, and they put a Santa costume on him and they put him in a cage and they're going to try to ransom him back to the Americans. And it's got some huge twists, and this thing, it doesn't talk. It's just creepy, leathery, wizened old big dude. He's not fat and jolly. And the belief is that the actual Santa Claus is more like a Krampus, like big horns. And they eventually they reveal. There's a lot of things get revealed. I wouldn't want to spoil it, because there are some fun things, like when they try and do the ransom exchange. A lot of new stuff gets brought up. It's super cool production design. It is actually legitimately intense.
Yeah.
The little boy is. Sometimes he can be kind of annoying because he's the overly curious little boy who always gets into trouble and is like Max and Where the Wild Things Are. You can't control him. He's just going to go out and do whatever he wants. But he's also this bored little boy in Lapland, right? It's like, what are you going to do? Looks great, plays great.
Rare exports.
Rare exports. A Christmas Story.
Yep. All right.
My number
Good
2.
choice.
Liz.
I'm going to take the quality notch down a few pegs with this one.
Do it.
So
Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Thanks,
2. This is a holiday that few places in the world celebrate, but one of the places that celebrates it happens to be here in New Orleans, where this movie is set. And this movie takes place over Mardi Gras. So that is my holiday for this one. And this is Adam Green's 2006 bloodbath, Hatchet.
Yeah! Love Hatchet.
The quick plot of Hatchet is that, and I'm going to read you like the little summary. A motley crew of tourists embark on a boat ride to the haunted Louisiana bayous, where they learn the terrifying tale of local legend Victor Crowley, a horribly disfigured man who was accidentally killed with a hatchet at the hands of his own father. But when the boat sinks and the ghost story turns out to be real, the group tries to escape the swamp with their lives and all of their pieces. Ha ha ha. So
it's a funny
movie. It's a fun movie. So this movie stars a Portland native, Joel David Moore, as Ben, and who drags his best friend Marcus, who is played by Dion Richmond, who is also, remember Kenny, the neighbor, Rudy's friend on the Cosby Show? That is this guy. Oh. I was like, he looks so familiar.
God, you're kidding.
Yeah, it's Kenny.
Wow.
They go, he's with his buddies in New Orleans to party, and he's getting over a breakup, and he doesn't want to be just drinking, getting drunk on Bourbon Street. So he hears about a haunted boat tour, a ghost tour in the swamps that he wants to go on. So he drags his friend. Also on the tour is a guy and a couple of girls who are doing like a Girls Gone Wild kind of video.
Hatchet fodder.
There's also a husband-wife, kind of Midwestern, nerdy older couple who definitely do not think that what the girls are doing in their Girls Gone Wild thing is right. And then there's one girl who is very quiet sitting in the back, and it turns out she is on this tour to get to the swamps to find her father and brother who had disappeared when they went gator hunting. And her father is played by Robert Englund, so you get a little cameo from him.
That's
you also
right,
get a little cameo from Tony Todd.
Yep.
And Victor Crowley is played by
Kane Hodder.
Kane Hodder, right, who is Jason. So from all the five of the Friday the 13th.
Yeah, no, it's cram-packed.
It is. Once they get to the swamp, it is a bloodbath. It is an absolute bloodbath. I mean, there is gore galore in this movie, and very few people make it out. But that's the fun of it. It is silly, disgusting, and kind of like juvenile horror. But hey, that's Mardi Gras for you.
I think that they had to. They were working hard to try and avoid the NC-17 on that, and I think they decided maybe they didn't do the theatrical release and just did an unrated cut, because it is a hyper violent movie. But
my gosh,
it's very violent.
But
There's
it's
nudity and everything. It's comic violence.
What was the most recent one that came out? Was it the fourth one?
Victor Crowley.
Victor Crowley,
and
that's
which
Hatchet
I think
4.
is technically 4.
Yeah. Okay.
It's kind of a cult classic and cult classic franchise now. Also, a little bit of a twofer for the holidays because Victor Crowley was murdered with the hatchet on Halloween.
Oh,
So
there you
that's what
go.
Hey, good call, Liz.
It's a twofer.
Two for holiday.
It's available to stream on Prime, and it is a definite good time, but it's not winning any awards.
No. I hadn't seen Hatchet until Eric had, I think you did a review of Victor
I did a
Crowley,
review for Victor Crowley.
and I was so curious about Eric's review, his loving review of Victor Crowley. I think you gave it a pretty solid review.
I think I gave it, I think it was 3.5.
Yeah. So I went back and watched Hatchet last year, and I really liked Hatchet. Hatchet was super fun.
They really wanted to
This
dial
is the
back
first
to.
time I'd seen it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it totally hit all the right spots.
In the theaters, like it's kind of like a cult classic thing. Well, they'll do like once a year, kind of a midnight thing. But
A New Orleans thing.
Yep. Mardi Gras.
All right,
Mardi Gras thing.
Mike, you're 2.
Okay, I will be fast. This is the 1981 Canadian slasher directed by George Mahalka. This is My Bloody Valentine, which we've talked a pinch about. This, of course, tells the story of a group of young adults who decide to throw a Valentine's party in a mine shaft, only to incur the vengeful wrath of an assailant. Who wears mining gear. I was always intrigued by this film, largely because, again, much like April Fool's Day.
Great poster.
Great poster. Great poster. This was all shot in Nova Scotia in a place called Sydney Mines, Nova Scotia, in the fall of 1980, and then it was theatrically released on February 11th, 1981, of course, very, very close to the Valentine's holiday. The film was originally titled The Secret, but the producers decided to change it to My Bloody Valentine so they could cash in on
Valentine's Day.
Not just Valentine's Day, but the sort of killer holiday trend, the serial killer holiday, serial killer slasher holiday trend that was starting to emerge in the late 70s, early 80s. Obviously you had films like Black Christmas, you had Halloween, you had Prom Night, you had Friday the 13th.
Happy Birthday to Me.
Happy Birthday to Me. You had Terror Train. So there was a ton of stuff coming out at the time that they decided this would be the most appropriate thing to do. It's apparently they, according to the director, they picked the mine shaft specifically because it was really gritty and dark and had this really wonderful sort of setting to it. And they had told the townspeople, okay, the townspeople in Nova Scotia, we're going to, come in, we're going to begin shooting. And the townspeople said, great, that's really wonderful. We're really excited because, this abandoned mine isn't being used for anything. Unbeknownst to the film producers, they went and totally cleaned the mine up, taking away all the grit and the dark atmospherics that they were going for. So they had to kind of readjust a little bit, but it encouraged the director was so smitten with Sydney Mines, Nova Scotia, he used a bunch of other pieces and parts from the small town location. This is a film that there's a lot of different versions of My Bloody Valentine. Just because you were dealing with, MPAA who wanted to give it an R, or R and or X rating. It demanded so many different cuts. Apparently Fangoria has stills of a lot of the trimmed footage.
I bet you if you go to Vinegar Syndrome, they probably have Blu-rays that have a lot of the extra footage or alternative endings.
I wouldn't be surprised. There is there's the standard American version of the film, which runs about 90 minutes, and then the UK has a slightly different version that runs, I think around 92, 93 minutes or something like that. They just added in some really gory stuff. But yeah, My Bloody Valentine is much like April Fool's Day. It hits on all the right notes.
Yeah, I actually had My Bloody Valentine 3D, the 2006 movie.
That's a great one too.
Was an alternate for me, and I was doing a little bit of background research. A lot of the sort of the names and the characters remained, but the third act they switched a lot of the gotcha moments, a lot of the the tricks that they pulled, which I think is great. So it kept it fresh. That film was shot in Pittsburgh because of some film grants that they got.
Right.
And the 3D effects were some of the best that you will see in horror movies.
Yep. And I think we talked about My Bloody Valentine, the remake, in the context of the best remakes of all time.
It was really good. And I think the difference is that the sequel looked like it was a WB, all pretty people. It's like preposterously pretty people in Pittsburgh, like the best looking Appalachian folk you will ever see. Right. So anyhow, both definitely worth checking out. All right. So my number one is this one's it's a fun one. This is a musical. This is Anna and the Apocalypse, which came out in 2017. This is Glee meets Shaun of the Dead. And I think one of the funny things that this does as a musical is it combines, like, musicals tend to be uplifting, happy, particularly holiday-themed ones. Mm-hmm. Like Sound of Music. This in some places is replacing, like in places like the Hollywood Theater, where they specialize in darker stuff and horror stuff, is showing up in theaters, and they're now doing Anna and the Apocalypse sing-alongs in the same way that Sound of Music does it, right? This is a Scottish film directed by John McPhail and was based upon a movie, a short film by Ryan McHenry called Zombie Musical, and which was a big eye catcher in Scotland. Got a bunch of awards, but McHenry died young from cancer. He wrote Anna and the Apocalypse, but he died at the age of 28.
Oh my gosh,
that's terrible.
Yeah, he got like a tumor in his leg, and it caught up to his lungs, and it got him. The story is really simple. It's a carries a lot of the typical tropes that you will see in a zombie film. Anna is going to be graduating from Scottish secondary school, high school, and in a classic high school moment, she announces to her father, who's a janitor at the high school where she goes to school, that she wants to go on an Australian walkabout and leave Scotland. And it's like that they lost the mom's gone, and so all of a sudden she's saying, I want to be free of Scotland and all this kind of stuff. And then they have the great musical breakdown where they start singing and about wanting, parental control and that kind of stuff. And her friend-zoned best friend also doesn't want to see her go because he's still holding a torch for her. And so they sing about that. And this is all taking place right at Christmas time, where they're all dressing the stuff up, and they do a big Christmas production and a song and dance thing. And then during that production, you start seeing there's some messages on the radio that are coming out about a strange virus that is making people go violent. And no surprise, it's zombies. And you slowly start seeing these zombies that are sort of around the periphery, but it really doesn't take full fruition until the next morning after the opening scene, where Anna and her bestie John are going back to school, and they're singing about, this is going to be great. I got my focus, and I have an ambition now. And in the background, everything's just going to hell. Right. Things are burning, and people are getting the cars running over zombies, and it looks like it's like the remake of Dawn of the Dead. It progresses very much like a lot of the other kinds of movies where there's a holdout in a bowling alley, there's a great fight in a bowling alley, there's a holdout at the high school, there's a great fight there, there's that they have to make a desperate run through a shopping mall where they're setting up for Christmas trees. There's some classic tropey characters. You got the bully who used to be he's the ex-boyfriend who the bestie is jealous of, and he gets picked on by the bully. You get the young high school couple that's too amorous, and they get split up, and they're trying to work their way back together. Right. You get the lesbian girl who is the righteous crusader for political good, and you got the evil schoolmaster who's just greedy and is trying. He wants to have power, but he's actually a weak man. Right. All those tropes put together. It's kind of so it's nothing super surprising.
Sure.
But the songs are fantastic.
Like how often do they break into song throughout the course of the movie?
Often.
There are 12.
Do they?
I think there's 12 songs. My
God.
My favorite songs: "Breakaway," "Hollywood Ending," "Human Voice," and "I Will Believe." And so if you watch and listen to it, and if you're actually a fan of the podcast, you can share what your favorites of that are.
Yeah.
Mike and I saw Evil Dead the musical, and that was. I'll say that was a hot mess. that felt like routine.
It was a junior college production of the Evil Dead
right.
the musical.
Well, and the best song from Evil Dead the musical was "What the fuck was that?"
Right.
So that gives you sort of a little bit of a notion. The cast here, they're all young Scottish actors. I don't think any of them have achieved much, but it's still a fairly recent movie, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Anna, who's Ella Hunt, eventually become something significant. She's got a great voice. She can do musicals.
Yep.
They all have. They were cast for voices, and they do that kind of layering thing. I'm a sucker for musicals, guys. I mean, this is like the flip side of Eric. So this is, this can become your Christmas tradition. Swap this out for Sound of Music. Convince your family that no, this is fun, and it is a fun movie. It's got a dark ending though. I mean, I was expecting a lot of survivors because it's a musical and it's
right.
No.
What is Anne and the Apocalypse rated?
R.
Oh, okay. So maybe
I mean, it's
after the kids go to bed, holiday tradition.
Or this is the way. This is a gateway one, right?
Okay.
This is your gateway R-rated movie.
R is not a gateway.
There's no sex or nudity in it, but there is a lot of gore.
Okay, don't listen to Eric. He doesn't have children.
Hank, close your ears. So that was my number one. Liz.
Awesome. Mine, I don't have to talk too much about. It's a super new one, and I'm kind of stretching it on the holiday, but I'm picking 2019's Midsummer by Ari Aster.
Hey, Wiki counts it.
Midsummer,
Wikipedia definitely counts it.
Is a holiday.
What was the holiday again in Midsummer?
It's Midsummer.
Oh,
it's the Midsummer,
that's right.
Like solstice festival.
Didn't they have like an alternate, like a euphemism for it, or an alternate, like there was an actual Swedish term for it?
Yeah.
I'm not going to try to pronounce
Midsommar.
it. I'm not going to go there. While doing research, just to be able to do a recap of this, I think the most disappointing part is that, so this movie is, supposed to take place in Sweden. It was filmed in Hungary. So
what?
Yeah,
like, that's
cheaters.
Kind of a bummer.
That's
so
right.
You're making a whole thing about a Swedish thing, and it was not filmed in Sweden. But so here's the kind of summary. Danny, who is wonderfully played by a British actress named Florence Pugh, P-U-G-H,
Yep.
and Christian, played by Jack Raynor, are a young American couple with a relationship on the brink of falling apart. After a family tragedy keeps them together, a grieving Danny, it says, invites herself to join Christian and his friends on the trip, but that's not really what happens, to a once-in-a-lifetime midsummer festival in a remote Swedish village. And what begins as a carefree summer holiday in a land of eternal sunlight takes a sinister turn when the insular villagers invite their guests to partake in the festivities. So it's not going to be good when a group of Americans, they're grad students in this one, are following one of their anthropology
never ends well.
Students, to the Midsummer Festival, and that this one is a once every 90 year they do this iteration of the festival. So it's not going to end well. So Florence Pugh plays Danny, and so she does go a terrible family tragedy, and her boyfriend was about to dump her when this tragedy happened. She didn't know that. So she doesn't really invite herself along.
It's one of the worst tragedies.
Says, "You want to come?" thinking she's not going to come, and she says yes. His friends aren't happy about that, and his friends are played by William Jackson Harper, who is Chidi, if you're watching The Good Place, and Will Poulter, who is an actor who is in like Chronicles of Narnia and stuff, but you've seen him. Once you see him, you're going to be like, it's that guy. Yeah, it's a that guy actor. And so they go to this idyllic Swedish, I'm going to call it cult. It's, like a pagan commune. and participate in the once every 90-year midsummer quote unquote festivities that are not super festive except for the people in the cult. When this came out, of course, everybody was riding off the coattails of Hereditary and expecting something completely mind-blowing. It wasn't a letdown, but it wasn't Hereditary. I mean,
that's a high
you
bar.
kind of know what's going to happen. You know exactly what's going to happen, but you know that it's not going to turn out well for these American students.
Now, Liz,
but as I was,
have you seen The Wicker Man? The original one.
I've seen the original and the remake. This does have definitely Wicker Man vibes. I am not a fan of, I don't know, either of those really. I do love a pagan cult, but this is another one where I'm going to say see Kill List instead of the Wicker Man.
Right.
If you want a pagan cult movie. Kill List is just like, I don't know, you like that? See Kill List. It covers all the bases.
Yep.
But this one, rewatching it, prepping for the podcast, it really is a good movie.
Did you watch the extended version of the film?
Oh, I don't know. It was real long.
Because he shot like a 3+ hour version of it, and they immediately released that. And I think that was released shortly thereafter.
It was in theaters. And it followed like 4 months later.
Right.
Then I saw that.
They
released it after. I mean, I saw it on like opening weekend in the theater, and then I just watched the DVD.
Okay, because there's a much longer version that goes even deeper into the cult happenings.
Yeah, I think Ari Aster is brilliant, but he could use an editor.
He could use an editor, and I think the biggest problem with the film was the fact that he shows and doesn't tell, right? The whole idea that what's scary about a cult is the fact that it's unknown and you don't know what it is. What's not scary about a cult is sitting down and watching the entire procession, like watching all of it's like going to church. I felt like it was so much of that film was so beautifully done, but so god awful boring.
Yeah, so the one I did see, it's 171 minutes.
Okay. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's pushing 3 hours.
Right. It's
but
funny.
It looks real good, and the acting is so good. I mean,
yeah.
Jack Reynor, especially to me, God, he plays a great douchebag. I mean, he's just a jerk. Where you're like, everybody knows someone like this guy. He's, treating Danny like absolute crap. His friend who's like writing his thesis on this group, the Harga, he's like, I think I'm going to do it too. And he's like, are you kidding me? And he's like, what? I didn't know you were doing it. And we're like, what? Y'all are all there for this guy to do his thesis. So just a real jerk. So when he gets his in the end, which he's going to,
the other
don't
thing,
really care.
The other thing that's great about Midsummer is that it actually shows up in a lot of horror comedy lists.
Really?
Yes, because it is people, when I saw it in the theater, people were howling, like with laughter.
I think the only part anybody laughed at in my screening was the sex scene.
Yeah, well, basically the whole like last 30 minutes of the film, people were just like laughing hysterically because at that point I think people were like, okay, this is just stupid and, no pun intended, but kind of like masturbatory filmmaking.
Uh-huh. For sure. But I don't know,
I think it's solid.
I would still recommend watching it, and it looks really great, and I really like the acting, but coming off of Hereditary, maybe if this had been his first, we would have thought it was great.
Yep. I know. I think it's a really beautiful film. I give it 3 out of 5 stars. You can read my review at the Scariest Things podcast.
Yes.
Scariest Things.
3 out of 5 tiny yellow A-frames, I think is what I gave it. Also, this is for me, this film is my aesthetic. I love that like Swedish countryside thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like the black buildings and all the wood and flowers. I was like, man, if it wasn't for the
horror and broad
murdering,
daylight,
I could live here.
Mike.
All right, since we are running super duper long, I'm going to be super duper fast. This is a film that IGN said was a well-crafted Halloween horror tribute, a scary blast, rating it 8 out of 10. Bloody Disgusting ranked the film in their 9th of their top list of the top 20 films in the last decade, calling it so good that that its lack of theatrical release borders on the criminal. This is a film, a 2007 film that Eric and I saw together called Trick or Treat.
Okay. Now that you said it. Trick or Treat's wonderful.
Yes, this is an American horror anthology film directed by Michael Dougherty and produced by Bryan Singer. It basically pulls together 4 horror stories with a common element amongst them, which is Sam, a strange little mysterious trick-or-treat child wearing a strange getup and sort of a burlap sack. You've seen Sam. I think Sam has been turned into...
Super cute.
He's super cute. He's been turned into a million toys.
Yes.
This character makes an appearance in each of the stories, and I think the thing that's kind of fun about this is that whenever a character breaks a Halloween tradition, Sam shows up to sort of right that wrong, to show them how Halloween should really be celebrated. This is all of the 4 pieces in the anthology are really good. They're really solid. There is one towards the latter part of the film, which I'm not going to dive deep into. It just runs way too long, and it just turns into kind of like it just runs like a very long slasher sequence that kind of goes on and on and on and on and on. That said, Trick or Treat is a really fun film. It's a great film to go back and look at, and you can look at it multiple times because it is an anthology piece. And of course, if you're not familiar with Sam, the little strange, mysterious trick or treater with the burlap sack over his head, this is his origin. And now you can piece together the image that you've seen a million times all over the internet, in toy stores, in comic book shops, et cetera, et cetera.
I like the werewolf one.
Yeah.
That was my favorite.
The werewolf one is really good. Yep. Yeah. So Trick or Treat, 2007, anthology horror film. Totally go see it.
Absolutely. That's a classic. I think it's actually a better Halloween watch than Halloween. I think it's more sort of in the way that it's thematically Halloween-y.
Sure.
I don't think it's like the first Halloween is a superior horror movie.
Yeah.
But if you want Halloween thematics,
you'd
be hard to beat Trick or Treat.
Yeah.
That's true. All right, let's recap super fast. Eric, what were your 3 films?
My 3 films was the 2016 movie Holidays, the anthology with all the holidays covered. I had also, my second choice was Rare Exports, Christmas Tale, a 2010 film from Finland directed by Jalmari Helander. And then my number 1 was Anna and the Apocalypse, 2017, directed by John McPhail.
All right, Liz, what do you got for your top 3 holiday horror films of all time?
My number 3 is Christy from 2014, directed by Oliver Blackburn, and that covers Thanksgiving. My number 2 is Adam Green's 2006 bloody slasher Hatchet, that covers Mardi Gras.
Love Hatchet.
And my number 1 is Ari Aster's 2019 Midsummer.
All right. My 3 films were April Fool's Day, the 1986 American mystery slasher film with Harvey, Nikki, Rob, Skip, Nan, Chaz, Kit, and Arch. The 1981 Canadian slasher film My Bloody Valentine, and then, of course, 2007's Trick or Treat. I'm going to take us out with a tagline.
Oh, you don't have any grave digging?
No, I don't think we do have any grave digging because we've almost run.
I'll save my grave digging for the next one.
About an hour and a half. All right, so I'm going to go back to the wonderful, wonderful 1986 April Fool's Day. April Fool's Day, it's a cut above the rest.
Hey.